I think we're live. We are live. Yes, we're live, guys. Oh my goodness. I am so excited, guys, to bring to you Edie Ann. And Edie is one of my friends, and she has volunteered her time to come here to share her Scentsy story with you guys. I'm Debbie Pitts Palmer. Some of you guys know me as DPP. And here's Edie. I'm going to let her have the floor and explain to you who she is and tell her story.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here. Thank you for doing this. I think it's so important. My name is Edie. I have been a consultant for almost 12 years. And, you know, I was telling Debbie this earlier. We all think, well, not all of us, but I think my story is very boring. And I get reminded very often that no matter what your story entails, even if it's not a very dramatic, sad, or that type of story, which we tend to connect to those more with our empathy emotion, but all of our stories matter, right? All of the ways that we joined matter. And for me, I was doing another direct sales business, and I had just literally started working from home, and I kind of landed into this with my daughter having a fundraiser, and my sponsor asked me to have a table at an event that I was doing for the other direct sales business. And she's like, "Oh, no, set up a table. It'll be fine. It'll be great." I'm like, "Listen, I'm not even going to be able to man that table. You can't come and do it. You want me to do that?" She's like, "Yes." She goes, "I'm going to send you a bar of wax. You'll have a warmer," because I already had a warmer. She goes, "Just turn it on and put the catalogs out on the table." I'm like, "Okay, listen, I can't promise you nothing." And at the end of the night, I had sold $300 of product from the table that I was manning, which was the other direct sales. And I went over to the table to shut the warmer off, and there were $300 worth of orders sitting on the table. It's like $270 or something like that of orders that were sitting on the table waiting to be processed. And they had asked me during the night, they're like, "Well, how do we place an order or whatever?" And I really wasn't paying attention. So I was fairly impressed because I hadn't done anything, like nothing. And it was the warmer, the scent that kind of sold itself, right? The smell sells. And so that's kind of how I got started with Scentsy. And within 9 months, I became a director. What's that?
What scent was that? I'm curious.
Blueberry cheesecake.
Oh my gosh, my blueberry cheesecake. Oh my goodness.
One of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites. She had sent me a buddy, and I think it was Penny Pig. Was that her name? Penny the Pig? She was Pig.
I think so.
Penny the Pig. Anyway, I think that was the buddy that I had sitting there with some catalogs. And then I had Jadestone was my warmer. So that was one of the original warmers that was way back in the day. So yeah, I mean, there's no pizzazz around my story, but it is my story. And it's part of how I became to be interviewed tonight, right? I mean, yes. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that story. So I want you all, whoever's watching, to remember that your story is enough for you to be sharing, no matter what it is. So anyway, so that's kind of my story. I'm a Nana. I have 3 children, grandchildren. I have a grandson and twin identical granddaughters. I have 2 children of my own. I have 2 stepchildren. I live in a town of, we lost 15 people in the last 7 months.
Wow.
So I think we're down to 192.
Oh my gosh. What happened? Did they?
Random stuff like heart attacks. We had one that was in an accident. We've had one that had cancer and finally didn't beat it anymore. It's just been, and I think maybe one was COVID.
Wow. That is something. I mean, and then I want to ask you this question. What was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it as a Scentsy consultant?
Yeah. My biggest challenge obviously was the fact that I lived in a town of 192 people. Like, I was not even sure. So the other direct sales business that I didn't really do parties. It was just catalog sales. So I didn't mind knocking on people's doors or sending them a catalog in the mail or, you know, that kind of thing. And that's kind of how it worked, which really didn't. I will say that. I did that direct sales for 12 years and it never did what I've done with Scentsy. So let's put that out there.
Wow.
My biggest challenge was definitely not having enough people to do home parties. And back in 12 years ago, that was the prominent thing that we did, was home parties. And so it became very aware to me right from the beginning that I was going to have to figure out a way to get myself known, get myself out there, get myself in front of people, get my scents under people's noses, but having to do it in a way that wasn't going to take up my 192 people. Because once I went through the 192 people, there was nobody left. So the biggest challenge was definitely living in a small town and trying to get my name out there. And I did it.
So can you tell us how you did this? I'm just really interested in that part.
So, I mean, ultimately for me, I understood that the computer, the phone, or whatever was going to be my way to get out there. I knew that I couldn't stay in this town. I would have to drive to an outside town. I would have to go an hour out of my way if I was going to do home parties, or a half hour out of my way to do home parties. And so that became kind of normal and understood by me that if I wanted to grow, I would have to do that. I didn't like doing it. I didn't like driving half an hour to an hour to go do somebody's party, because around here, that's kind of far. And so social media became my go-to. When I sat there and said, Edie, what is the way? How is the way that you are going to reach people? One was fundraisers, and that's a whole other thing. But fundraisers are a great way to get your name out there to people that you would never have touched. But then social media became my thing. And video really kind of had just started back then. And YouTube was the place to do that. There was no live video on Facebook, no live on Instagram. There was none of that stuff. There wasn't even live video on YouTube at that point. The live video thing didn't happen until 5-6 years ago. And so I decided that instead of being in front of an audience physically, that I was just going to take the knowledge that I had and put it on camera and record videos. And I call them static videos because they weren't live. I could record them. I could edit them. I could delete them. I could do whatever I wanted with them. But it was my way to be able to get out there. And the number one thing that I found worked, because I would do scripted videos and I would do a la carte or au naturel, right? I would just wing it like I would at a home party, right? And I found that the ones that I winged it, or I just did my own thing, were the ones that people connected to. And so that's what I did. I would do demonstrations on YouTube. I would do mock home parties. Like I would do a home party and bring my camera with me. If I went an hour away to do a home party, I would bring my camera and I would record it, and then I'd upload it to YouTube. And so the relationships that I started making on YouTube were ultimately what grew my business, because I would say at that point, 90% of my recruits came from YouTube.
Wow.
And I became director in 9 months. And so from that January, because I joined on December 30th of 2010. And so from January to September was all YouTube. And like I said, 90% of the people, I would even venture to guess 95% came from YouTube. Because I think I might have had one or two people locally that decided to jump on board. So honestly, and now as it's evolved and become live, good heavens. Like, to me, that having a live version like what we're doing right now is ultimate bliss, because for someone who cannot physically go into people's homes And we haven't been able to, right? So I always joked about it when COVID came around that I've been social distancing from the beginning, right? You know, and I've been running my business that way. And so if I couldn't go to them, I was going to allow them to come to me and to be able to see a home party the way that it would have run if I was standing in their home. And so I would set up my countertop. I would, you know, put everything on there like I would have done at a home party, and I would just do it, you know, and try to be as natural as possible, and then create those relationships by going to other people's channels and commenting on their videos and creating that relationship, you know.
I was about to ask you, how did you form relationships with people on YouTube? How many followers do you have right now?
I'm not sure how many followers I have. I probably could go check. I mean, as far as, okay, really there. I'm trying to go find out for you. As far as building relationships, the biggest thing is I have 22,000.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing.
Okay, now I've lost you though. So where'd you go?
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
All right, hold on. So the best way to build relationships is going to, like, and don't talk shop. Like I always tell people, don't talk shop. It's not always about Scentsy. It might be in your life, but it ain't for them. And so if you start vomiting at the mouth of all Scentsy stuff, they're going to be like, time out. I don't even know what this is that you're talking about, right? So what I did is I would go find videos of my dog breed. I would go find videos of flower gardening, because those were all things that I enjoyed, and I knew that I would be able to have something in common with them. So if I commented on their video and they replied, most of the time, and it still is this way, if you comment on somebody's video, most of the time they're either going to reply, so there's that conversation, or two, they're going to go to your channel and see what you got going on. So if you have a mix of flower videos and Scentsy videos, now they get drawn in because you have something in common with them. And then by the time they finish that video, what happens? The next video that rolls through is Scentsy. So now, oh, she sells Scentsy. Huh, what's that? Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh my gosh, I needed a Scentsy consultant. You know what I mean? So you have to have that common ground in order to build the relationship. Relationships are built by know, like, and trust, right? Knowing you, liking you, and trusting you. And it can be a little bit difficult doing that through video and having only a one-way conversation, especially if it's a static video and not live like this, right? We have a conversation happening, but when you're doing a recording and you're uploading it, there's no conversation unless you create the conversation in the comments. And so it's super, super important to be authentic so that they can know you and potentially like you because of that. And just create content that you have passion about. Hopefully one of them is Scentsy, right? The other one could be gardening. It could be about cars. It could be about, look, you can search anything on YouTube, anything, right? And so that's how I built the relationships. That's how people found me. And if they search Scentsy, I might come up. And so they'd see my videos and be like, oh yeah, I can really relate to her. You know? So I always tell people, please don't script. Don't script. People don't want to listen to you read. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They want to listen to your heart. They want to get a brain dump from you and hear what you're actually thinking about and what you're doing and how you're doing it, you know?
How often do you, currently, how often do you go to YouTube? Do you go live, or are you uploading the videos? And
yeah, I mean, this platform right here, StreamYard, I have the ability to go live and do maybe like an unboxing or something. And I will have it go on my personal page, on my business page, and on YouTube. So wow. I always, unboxings I do live because I just feel like there's a genuinity. being genuine. When you are being genuine or authentic, there's so much more connection that can happen with people because they're like, oh my God, look, she looks like a kid when she opens up that Scentsy Buddy. Or, wow, did you see her face? I don't think she liked that scent, right? So being authentic can be relatable. And doing that live, I think, has been the best result in unboxings for me. But every month I do a static video on the scent and warmer of the month. So I just record a video. I talk about it. I edit it so that I can take out all of the dead space. And that's really the only editing that I do, is taking out the ums, ahs, or like I had to leave because I needed to go plug it in or whatever. So I usually cut that stuff out to make it concise. But I mean, at this point, my channel has become 80% Scentsy and 20% personal. And I really need to kind of up that a little bit more, but I'm so passionate about Scentsy. So I love to do Scentsy videos, but I have to keep reminding myself, like I would be doing for you, to make a personal video. You know, I had gastric bypass 4 years ago. So that's been a big thing for me to talk about on my channel. So that brings those, people that have had that or are wanting to have it, and so they have questions or whatever. So it's just a way to get people to my channel.
That's a good idea. Never thought about that. Everything I have out there, except with the exception of my daughter singing, but I never thought about putting personal stuff out there. Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, I think that's what creates that connection. They don't know Scentsy. The majority of the people out there don't even know Scentsy exists still. So when they come to your channel and the first thing out of your mouth is Scentsy, they may connect with you. More than likely, they're not gonna, right? So if you bring on something that is personal to you, like let's say you love gardening, you know, maybe you have a little excerpt of you actually planting your stuff this spring, or talking about what you're going to plant, or showing what you're going to plant, or, you know, that kind of stuff, that is going to bring an audience because they're going to be searching for it. How many times do you go to YouTube to search for how to do something? So if you know how to do something, then video it and put it on YouTube because somebody's going to look for it, you know? So yeah, definitely mix it up.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Putting that on my list. So Edie, why do you love Scentsy so much?
Oh God. You know, my biggest saying for the last, and I've been with Scentsy for almost 12 years. So I will say that this really started to sink in about 10 years ago. So 2 years into my journey. It's just been a pure blessing of a catalyst for some pretty amazing things in my life. And so not only do I love the product, I mean, listen, I don't know that we would be here if we didn't love the product, right? But I feel like the things that have come because of Scentsy, I don't know what I would do without Scentsy in my life. Whether it's the friendships that I've made. I'll be honest, the biggest thing for me has been traveling. I mean, you know, Deb, I mean, you and I have been on numerous trips together, and I just cannot, like, I literally just got my flights for Alaska today. So it's like, those places would never have been on my radar if it hadn't been for Scentsy. And if they were, I would have had to work a lot harder to earn the money to go, you know? But I've been to places like Greece and Africa and New Zealand and Punta Cana and Cancun, and now I'm going to Alaska. So it's like, what? So the traveling by far has been one of my favorite things about Scentsy. But I also know, having worked with other direct sales businesses, that nothing matches Scentsy. Like I was telling you, I worked with that other direct sales business for 12 years, and I didn't even get near the recognition. I didn't even know I knew who the owner was. Do you think she talked to me or even had dinner with me ever? Do you know how many times I've eaten with Heidi and Orville? I mean, the fact that, or Dan at this point, I mean, the fact that they know us, we're not numbers to them. We're souls, we're spirits, we're individuals that they literally care for. And that company that I worked for before, she didn't even know I existed. You know? So I think the compassion and the love that comes with Scentsy and the traveling, I think those are my favorite things about Scentsy, and a big reason why I love Scentsy and will never leave Scentsy.
Did you get to go to the other company's convention? Did they have those? How would you compare the convention? You didn't?
I did go. Yeah.
How would you compare those?
There's no comparison. Listen, you hear us talk about Scentsy Spirit. There's no way to explain Scentsy Spirit. There really isn't. And the convention, I went to 2 conventions for the other place, and it was just so, it was just kind of rhythmic. Like, you just kind of went with the flow. You did the things, you saw the things, you did the rah-rahs. And I mean, it was nice. It was fun. And, you know, we had a great time while we were there, but it wasn't like, Scentsy has this energy. I guess that's all I can explain it as, like, energy. When you say Scentsy Spirit, to me, that's the energy that we consume and exude when we're together. And then that kind of just trickles when we leave, right? It trickles through when we leave there. And it's just, it's totally different. Totally different. And to mark that, the first year that I was with Scentsy in 2011, the reunion was in Texas. And I opted not to go. This was the first and only time that they had a virtual option. And it was like $10. And I was like, I've drank the juice. I've been there. I've gone to conventions. I know what this rah-rah stuff is. I don't need to go. So I didn't go. And I stayed home and I watched one general session. It was $10. I watched one general session on the computer, and it was completely lagging at that time because 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And the next year was in Vegas, and I went. And I thought, shit, I missed out. Like, not going the year before, I kicked myself so hard because I was like, this is nothing like I thought it was going to be. Nothing. You know, and so I never missed a reunion after that, except now, of course, we've had a couple that were yanked from us. And unfortunately, this year, I'm not able to go because of some medical stuff, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Am I bitter? Maybe, but it's okay. It'll be fine. So we're going back in person, but we also have a really exciting virtual option that we're going to be getting. So hopefully, and definitely going to be much better than the one that was in 2011.
They had a virtual one back then. I guess because I was there.
They only had one.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
And it was horrible. It was a horrible experience, to be very honest. Like I said, it was only $10, and I'm not quite sure how they did it, but like, there was a camera standing in the back, and it was dark, and you could hardly see or hear anything. Yeah, it was
Technology is so much better.
It was great.
Yeah. But yeah, SFR is electrifying. It is like everything. I mean, the lights, the confetti, and all the stuff. I mean, it's just.
And it's not just that, though. It's the energy that comes from the people.
Oh, yes.
Like, we're just on fire when we're there, and it's contagious as heck, right? And so it's just, like I said, it's that spirit. It's the energy that comes from us being together. And I truly believe, and here's what I think. The conventions that I went to for the other direct sales, there were a couple people that I knew. So you kind of hung out with them, and you attended it together. Scentsy, you usually know quite a few people. And just in that, you get to meet other people. They're very welcoming. That energy just compounds and compounds. And then all of a sudden it's just, you're shaking the floor because you're doing the fitness marshal and it's literally shaking the floor.
It's everything. It really is. Oh my goodness, just everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, Edie, you have shared so many amazing things with us, and we so appreciate having you here. Is there anything else that you can think of that you may want to add in closing that you may not have thought about before? I mean, just what do you think?
I think the biggest thing that I want you guys all to take away from this is not only did I live in a small town and I needed to figure out what to do to overcome that, but the only way I would have been able to do that is with the right mindset. And I think that we forget the power we have here in allowing us to do more, in allowing us to feel like we're enough, and allowing us to be a better consultant every day. And if you don't think you can, you won't ever. But as soon as you have hope and you line it up with that desire to have more or to do more or to travel or to have a bigger team or more parties or whatever it is that you need to draw from that, as soon as you believe that you can, the motion's already started. Mm-hmm. And so I truly believe that if it hadn't been for a mindset of growth, a positive mindset, mindful thinking or mindful thoughts, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Oh, I just thought about something, Edie, because we didn't even talk about the give more than you take, and you did that with that home party group that you had. Because Edie was so amazing at these virtual parties, she created a group and she invited all consultants to join this group where she shared all types of ideas about how you can go live. And this is before I started doing virtual parties. So I was in the group, but I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it because I was doing events. But That was her thing. That was her thing, and she mastered it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still around. It's not as active as it was in the past because we're all doing virtual parties now, right? We had to. It's still there. There's still tons of information. It's just the virtual party group for Scentsy consultants. That's what it's called on Facebook. But yeah. I mean, I'm just in the camp of if I know how to do it and I feel like I can do it well, then there's absolutely no reason I shouldn't be sharing that information so others can do it too. That's just how I think.
And that's that Scentsy Spirit right there.
It
is. So, Edie, we have enjoyed you. We thank you so much for sharing all this valuable information. I have taken some notes myself, and I'm hoping that you guys have taken down notes because we're going to implement what you've learned because I am going to be up in my YouTube game.
Yeah, it's a great tool. Thank you so much, Debbie, for doing this. This has been wonderful. I appreciate you.
It was so fun. Okay, guys, have a great night.
Bye.
Thank you, Edie. Okay, let's see how to end this.